David, thank you very much. Yes, if the Kings are to get anything going in the second half of this season, in large part it'll be on the back of Dustin Brown, who reasserted his importance to the franchise last season and continues to do so this season. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Louis, let's start with that key point that Dustin registered tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. A point on your good buddy's 300th career goal, Anze Kopitar. You said it was great that you had the assist on it, but must be special for you as well. Here's the play here. A big goal for him and your team.
Yeah, I mean, I played with Kobe for a long time. I assisted on his first goal, so we have some good chemistry, and it's good to see him get that.
Yeah, it goes all the way back. That's amazing. You assisted on his first one, his 300th. Many more to come, you hope.
Yep, hopefully.
So he said it was very special to have you register the primary assist tonight, and it's even more special when we just have learned that you assisted on his very first of 300. Here is an amazing stat. You cracked the Kings lineup for the first time in 2005, so in the 14 years since, you have missed a total of 18 games. That is stunning, really, for someone who plays the game as hard as you, and it had to be frustrating this year to miss the first 10 games with a broken finger. How do you account for your durability?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of players play the game, and some guys are, I think a lot of it's just luck, and some of it's just how you're put together. I've had some close calls, but I always seem to be able to manage to get to the game and be ready to go. So I think a lot of it just comes down to durability and just the way I'm put together. Heavy and can take a lot of beating.
Louis.
A lot of it has to do with mentality too, though, I think. And, I play with a lot of guys that could just play through more pain than other guys. And we kind of joked when you came on the set here, you didn't have to do icing after, but there's always little bumps and bruises along the way that manifest and add up, but you just play through those things.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's just having that mentality that you're coming to the rink to play a game, and it's something I learned. I played with Ian LaPerriere early on, and he
Warrior.
He battled through a lot of injuries as a young guy that I saw, so you kind of learn from guys like that at the end of the day you can probably get through a game if you have to.
Dustin, I mentioned that last season was your comeback year, but more than once here you have been the subject of trade rumors. We can go back to 2012 when the Kings snuck into the playoffs as the 8th seed and went on to win the Stanley Cup, but trade was being discussed before that, and then the summer before last the word buyout came up. What got you through both situations?
I think you can learn a lot in those situations about what you're made of inside, and I had a good support system with my family and my teammates, and I've been in the league long enough, and it's not always going to be the best situation. You have to find a way to make the best of it, and I had a tough couple years, but I felt I could still contribute at a high level, and it's just a matter of finding my game again. The trade rumors and buyout, that's just part of the business side of things, and as a player, I'm not going to say it doesn't affect you, but like I said, you can find out a lot about who you are when things are. It's easy to be a good teammate and a guy you want in the room when things are going well. When we're winning Stanley Cups, it's different when you're trying to battle out of it.
It's noteworthy that even with missing those first 10 games with the broken finger, you are the Kings' leading goal scorer. You've scored some key goals, a couple in overtime this season. I think we have them. But the question is from Carol Ann and Teal. How were you able to rediscover your offensive touch in goals and assists?
I think part of it's just working at it, and I think there's a few years there where, in my opinion, I just didn't get the opportunity. I didn't play on the power play there for a few years, and my ice time was limited, and for whatever reason, and I find a way to contribute in different ways. I think in those couple of years that I was down in maybe a lesser offensive role, but when I get to play with Kopi every night, that's definitely going to help me. And I like being on the power play in front of the net, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So last year, Johnny Stevens came in and told me to get in front of the net on the power play, and that's what I did, and I kind of carved out a little area for myself there.
Playing 1,000 games is special, and even more so if you play them all with the same team. And you reached that level with the Kings last December, just the second player to do it. And the first was the guy who drafted you in 2003, Dave Taylor. But the tribute from the Kings on that night began with a very, very special message.
It's been an amazing journey, and we are so lucky to have been on it with you. We are so proud of you, and we love you so much.
Congratulations, Daddy. We love you.
How about that? And the ceremony itself, also special. You had a real sense of occasion on that night, Dustin. After the ceremony, the game went to overtime here at Staples Center against Colorado, and let's have a look at what happened.
3-on-3 overtime is what we will play here at Staples Center. Landeskog goes off. Here's Brown through center.
Very few players are able to elevate their game in special moment, and he certainly found a way to do it.
Brown through center. Dustin Brown scores! Oh my!
So that is a sense of occasion. What did 1,000 games and the way you celebrated that night mean to you?
I think it was. It's one of those things that's weird as a player because you come into the league, you're not thinking about 1,000 games, and
you're just thinking about playing
you're
your
just
first.
thinking about playing your first and just trying to stay in the league and win games, and then all of a sudden it comes on you and you're 1,000 games, and it just worked out that I got the overtime winner. But when you get that high in games, it's kind of funny. It's just another game, really. It's just a milestone game. So it was a really good night for my family. It worked out. The scheduling was right around Christmas, so I had my whole family, extended family, friends' family out, which was really good. And obviously the storybook ending for me. It was really nice to share it with my teammates as well.
I've read somewhere that you are the franchise leader in hits with over 3,000 in your career with the Kings. So let's have the Kings strength and conditioning coach, Matt Price, explain the impact force of a Dustin Brown hit.
At the core of these devastating hits is something called impact force, a product of Dustin's body mass and his skating speed. At Dustin's current body mass of 220 pounds and a peak skating velocity of 23.5 miles per hour, the impact force felt by a player getting hit into the boards would be over 4,070 pounds, over 2 tons of weight. It is literally like getting hit by a truck.
So like getting hit by a truck, have you ever thought of your hits that way? That's how Matt Price described it.
Sometimes it feels like I'm the person getting hit, even when I'm hitting. It's one of those things, especially early in my career. It allowed me to stay in the lineup. It became part of my identity very early on. When I made that jump playing as an 18-year-old, I found it a little harder to score goals at the NHL level. So that first year I kind of made like I said, I carved out a little identity of being a physical player, and it helped me stay in the lineup and contribute on a nightly basis if I wasn't scoring. And I think that's probably one of the things that's allowed me to be an effective player. It's not always about the score sheet with me. I can find ways to have impacts on the games from different aspects, and it's getting harder and harder as I get older, and the rules are changing, and but it's part of the game still, so I'll keep on doing it.
Louis.
That was kind of going to be my question, because you're a bone-crushing hitter. When you hit guys, you hit to hurt more, so to speak. And throughout your career, you do have a reputation as a guy that, you go through guys when you hit them. Have you had to change that in the new rules to a sense that you make sure the guy isn't in a vulnerable position or has his head down?
It's a fine line. I think the hits that I've just stayed away from are the ones when the guys are cutting to the middle. It's almost impossible to hit them cleanly nowadays when they're cutting the middle. But along the wall, you can still drive through guys, or on the forecheck. If you meet a guy behind the net, you still have a good opportunity to drive through them. And as long as you don't hit them in the head, it's a good hit. And it's harder to do it. Yep. But there's still guys that are laying big hits. I just don't think it's that common now.
So, Dustin, we were originally scheduled to have you on this program in early November, but you required treatment on that night, and you couldn't make it. And by the way, the guest not showing up for this show was our worst nightmare, but we got through it. But that game was just a few days removed from that mass shooting in Thousand Oaks, California, that claimed a dozen lives. When you played the Minnesota Wild, I think on the same night or perhaps the night after, instead of that requisite moment of silence, you held up signs with one simple word on them: enough. So I want to go back to that night and ask you how much you have thought about what the Kings could do in the face of such an horrific tragedy.
Yeah, it's a really horrific situation, but I think LA is a very big community, a big sports community, and I believe the Clippers followed it up with doing the same thing, and the Lakers as well. So when you have organizations throughout the city of LA bring awareness to it, I think it can have a big impact. And we're just a small part of it.
You and Nicole have 4 children. We have some pictures here, I think, from 5 years ago when the 4 were all under 6. So that's a lot of work, mostly for your wife, Nicole. She makes a point here, and we'll hear it in just a second, that mothers everywhere would love. So let's hear from Nicole.
I think it's funny sometimes when I hear him complaining. I'm like, yeah, it must be tough to be on the road and stay in 5-star hotels and go out to dinner each night and then play a hockey game.
She wants the best of both worlds. She wants me to be a hockey player and not have any responsibilities and be able to stay at home all day. You try going on a 5-game losing streak and see how fun it is.
So try going through a 5-game losing streak. Is that the best you could manage?
Well, she definitely has the harder job. I'm not going to debate that, but
Doesn't she deserve a Stanley Cup ring as well?
she's got some pendants. She got 2 pendants. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, and we got a good system going. So now it gets a little easier as the kids are going. We're more like taxi drivers now than anything else. So as they get older, they got more activities. We just shuttle them around. But
10 and under now, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
10 and under.
Okay.
But they're getting into hockey and traveling and sports. And
Well, because you have the 4 and they're active, here's a question from NCSR. The handle is at Sharpsaw12. Favorite ride at Disneyland?
Disneyland, I think it's, we'd like to go on the Indiana Jones one. And then the other one is California Adventure, but it's the same Disneyland area. Is the Cars ride is really good.
Speaking of Stanley Cup rings, here's a picture of your 2, and the second, I think, is considerably bigger than the first. Have you been able to actually wear it anywhere?
I don't wear them. I don't like wearing them. They're great, and I don't really think anybody really wears their rings. I feel like they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
That second one is huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big. They sit at my house, and I'm sure when there's reunions and that sort of thing, maybe. But it's not like I'm wearing it to practice tomorrow morning.
Clearly not. At 34, you have to pay more attention to your conditioning than ever. I was interested in this piece of video that we found, and this is not your typical hit the gym with a personal trainer session. Is this a typical dryland workout for you?
It's like boot camp.
It's just different that we do that later in the summer. I think it's good to break it up and get outside. Quite honestly, you kind of get bored. Unfortunately, we've had some longer off seasons, so you had time to put in the work. But my trainer and me, we've been working together for a while, and I like to get outside, just switch it up. It's a good mental break to go and do that, as opposed to being in the weight room every single day.
So you've got the conditioning end of things figured out. Now, if you could only figure out the correct end of the water bottle. This GIF is old. It's really old, but it stands the test of time. Well, actually, we don't have the pictures, but this actually happened in a game. And your good-natured response in the form of a tweet. So what exactly happened here?
We're in St. Louis. The best part about it is I think the clip gets cut off, but I picked up the water bottle on the wrong end and go to squirt it. Squirt's out.
Yeah.
I kind of put the water bottle down, and I kind of just looked down the bench both
See if
ways,
anybody saw.
and no one saw it. I'm like, all right, I'm in the clear, and no one saw it. And then the next day it was on like every sports channel, and I'm like, like I thought I got away with it for a second, because as soon as I did it, I'm like, oh boy. I just looked down the bench, and I think Stoley was sitting right next to me, and normally he catches everything. I just looked at him. He didn't even.
Okay, now we've got it here.
Yeah.
There
So
we go.
this probably won't say it. This probably won't show it.
No, that's
Yeah. That means I put the water bottle down, and no one even noticed that I did it. So.
except the TV
Except for
audience.
the TV got me.
Yeah. Back to June 03. When the Kings called your name, 13th overall in the draft, they also had 2 other first-round draft picks. So they had a draft party at the hotel in Nashville that night. Tell us, which was almost overwhelming for you because you'd never been further than west of Michigan.
Yep.
Tell us the story of someone coming up and tapping you on the back and talking to you.
It was Wayne Gretzky in the lobby. I mean, growing up he was everyone's favorite player, and it was kind of a surreal moment for me. I don't really get awestruck by people very often, but he just came up and congratulated me and told me I'd be a great King, and that was it. And it was quick and easy, but
Put you at ease.
my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she was like, that's Wayne Gretzky. I'm like, yep. But it was a cool thing for me to have. Just like, it was a quiet moment, like right in the lobby, and I mean, the whole day was a blur, but it slowed down there for a few minutes.
Did you know that Wayne Gretzky was not allowed in the building by security today? The Oilers PR director had to go and rescue him. They were on a tight ship around here.
Yep.
Dustin Brown's our guest on After Hours, closing in now on 1,100 games with the Los Angeles Kings.